What happened? What happened this time? Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Miami loss to Virginia Tech. Final score 42-35 as the Canes went down at 28-0. Got the Hail Mary at the end of the first half, 28-7, fought all the way back to tie it at 35, and then gave up the last-minute drive to lose 42-35. Made a last-gasp effort to get the ball into the end zone, threw it into the end zone twice, but could not complete the game-tying touchdown pass. Virginia Tech wins 42-35. And keep into consideration that Virginia Tech has beaten no one of consequence for 2 years now. They went 6-7 last year. Their best win was over Virginia. That was the only decent team that they beat, was an 8-5 Virginia team that they beat every year, inexplicably now, for 15 consecutive years, and that will probably come to an end this year. But they beat Virginia last year in overtime, but didn't beat anybody else any good. And they lost 6 of those 7 games by double digits, and most of those games by 3 or more touchdowns, even to the likes of Pitt by 30 points, to Georgia Tech by 21 points. This year, Virginia Tech, in its 4 games coming in, could only beat Furman by a touchdown and Old Dominion by 2 touchdowns. And they got trampled, of course, last Thursday night by Duke, 45-10. So what happened in this one, and why Miami, with a more talented roster playing at home, could not beat a Virginia Tech team that has been abysmal? So what struck me first was the opening kickoff and the lack of fans in the stands. That's not a big surprise if you follow Miami football and college football at all. Miami basically draws for night games against Florida State, Notre Dame, and otherwise they can't get fans to the stadium. Despite having, I believe, a big fan base, I don't know how to compare it against other powers across the nation, but that is one way to compare it, and that would be the number of fans in the stands, and people just don't go to the games. All right, let's get to the football. Very first play of the game for the Canes was the inside slant that Jermaine Holley intercepted. It wasn't necessarily a bad pass, maybe a bad decision, but not necessarily a bad pass. It was thrown where it was supposed to be. Mike Harley wasn't as aggressive as he needed to be. Jermaine Holley was just ultra aggressive, jumped the route, saw it coming, and the ball flew up in the air and was picked off. Then Virginia Tech got the ball in plus territory on a 3rd and 5. Hendon Hooker ran it up the middle. I don't know what Shaq Quarterman was doing because he had a running back in front of him, and he just backpedaled and got out of position. And Hendon Hooker, yes, it's difficult for linebackers and defensive linemen, especially to tackle in space is difficult. Hendon Hooker's an elusive guy, but played an exceptional game for the most part in his first start. So Miami, supposed to be a top-notch defense, playing a first-time starter at home, and they gave up 42 points. Now, they were put in bad position by all the turnovers in the first half, but in this particular play, my goodness, Trajan Bandy didn't show any effort, and Shaq Quarterman was backing up against a running back and letting Hendon Hooker run 25 yards. All right. Then on the next play, another quarterback run. I was trying to judge whether, okay, Hendon Hooker's having success on the quarterback runs, most of them not designed. He's throwing from the pocket. He's looking downfield. Then he just takes off with a huge gap. Whether Miami would start to spy him or make some kind of an adjustment, and they apparently didn't do so. All right. Brevin Jordan caught one of his many big plays on the day on the next drive. I don't know why he couldn't keep his feet. The ball was perfectly placed by Jaron Williams. Nobody was on him, and he just kind of tripped up. It would have been a huge, huge play in and of itself. It was like a 20-yard play, well-designed play to free him up on the corner to the sideline. All right, Jaron Williams with the bomb. Not poorly thrown, not a beautiful throw, not a perfect throw. It was a little bit underthrown. D. Wiggins, though, did not fight for the football. So either, number one, he didn't track the ball well and just kept running and expected the ball to be 3 or 4 yards behind him, because that's what happened. So D. Wiggins either didn't track the ball well, or he just didn't feel like fighting for the football, because he didn't stop and come back to the football and fight for the football. He didn't leap for it. He didn't do anything. He just kept running. And the defensive back was the guy who made the one-handed interception, Farley. Third interception Jaron Williams threw, he had extreme pressure to his legs. Guy coming right at him, he couldn't get anything on the football, and it was a poor throw because of the pressure. It looks as though, based on the coverage on the right side of the field, as though there was significant coverage over there and not necessarily a good decision on his part. But this is going to be a theme all the way through, and even N'Kosi Perry played past it, played through it. The Miami offensive line was abysmal. Again, the pass protection was atrocious against the Virginia Tech defense that gives up yardage and points the last year and a half like few teams in Power 5 football. They've been awful for the most part. Dalton Keene got lost on every play he scored and got a big gain. I don't know. The coverage never adjusted to Dalton Keene. And Dalton Keene has been playing for Virginia Tech and been making pretty big plays. He's been pretty significant and pretty integral to that offense for a few years now. Dalton Keene, we've all known about him for quite some time. But nobody was on him. He scored the first touchdown. Okay, N'Kosi Perry comes into the game after the 3 picks, and maybe this just turned out to be his kind of game. Playing from behind, nothing to lose. Let's go for it. He knew he was going to have to sling it almost every play, and he played really well. He made a couple bad throws, couple bad decisions, but when you put it up 30 or 40 times, that's going to happen. I thought N'Kosi Perry played extremely well for the most part. Mike Harley had a fumble. That wasn't necessarily because he wasn't protecting the football and was too loose with the football. Yes, he could have. Other running backs, he's a wide receiver. Running backs are more accustomed to ball protection, and the ball, he was engaged with one tackler, then the other tackler came and poked it out. So Harley wasn't careless with the football. It was just an unfortunate fumble. So I'm not going to blame Mike Harley for that one. So Virginia Tech's at the Miami 16 at this point. And Hendon Hooker breaks contain, runs loose in the secondary. Shaq Quarterman can't get him down. And again, I'm not going to completely fault the linebacker for not catching a dual threat quarterback in the open field. But Shaq Quarterman took a bad angle, didn't even get close to him, and he had him in position. And then also there was somebody else, and I couldn't catch their number. They whiffed as well. Mitchell scored the touchdown. There was more missed tackles. Somebody shot the gap, and again, I couldn't get a number on the play because I'm only basically getting the live play and then sometimes the slow motion play. But somebody shot a gap, and they did well to shoot the gap to break into the backfield on the end around for the touchdown. But they whiffed badly because they didn't take the proper pursuit angle to the football, and Mitchell scored the touchdown. Next series for Virginia Tech going into the second quarter, Deshaun McClease had a 25-yard run in which most of the time when there's a 25-yard run, there are missed tackles. There were no missed tackles. It was just that the left side of the Virginia Tech offensive line just completely wiped out and pushed back into the secondary, the Miami D-line on their right side. It was just a mauling up front. And McClease got loose for 25 yards. Dalton Keene again. Dalton Keene again, this time for the touchdown. It was just a little swing pass out to him. Okay, you expect the defensive front to rush, and sometimes if they read the play, they'll drop back and take the back and be able to disrupt a screen play or a swing pass. On this particular play, I don't know what the linebackers were all rushing. Maybe it was a designed blitz, but 4 Miami defensive linemen / linebackers went at Hooker, who just dumped the ball over their heads to Dalton Keene, who had nobody on him again. Touchdown. So there's a serious flaw in the design of picking up the fullback / tight end in this particular offense. I know we don't see a whole lot of them, but Dalton Keene, again, I know who the guy is. I watched him play a bunch of times, and he's been this kind of player for Virginia Tech for a few years now. Brevin Jordan made a huge play down to the Virginia Tech 3. Excellent pitch and catch. Perry to Jordan. I don't know what the sequence was here that led to Miami being stopped on 4 downs at the 3-yard line. First and goal at the 3, they get stopped. I didn't see the first two plays. The last two plays, wide receivers couldn't get open. Too much pressure on Perry. He had to throw it up for grabs. Blown up play. Offensive line couldn't pass block. Apparently couldn't run block because they couldn't get the ball into the end zone from the 3-yard line on first down, second down, third down, or fourth down. So offensive line's killing Miami. All right. There was a bad personal foul in which Virginia Tech was had to take over at its own 3. They gained a first down. They would have been stopped on a 3rd and long, but there was a personal foul. Late hit, and I think sometimes those are ticky-tack. This was not. Late hit. Didn't see who it was. Again, it was Quarterman and somebody else on the sideline, and there was a late hit personal foul on the Robinson run, which gives Virginia Tech a better field position. They eventually had to punt, but it gives them better field position. There was an exceptional play near the end of the second quarter, and this is where Miami eventually threw the Hail Mary, where they were deep in their own end. They're down 28-0, and N'Kosi Perry ducked the rush, somehow got out of it, was sprinting, almost a dead sprint to his right, and threw a beautiful dime to Jeff Thomas. Beautiful throw. Only about 50 seconds left in the second quarter, which, of course, set up the Hail Mary play. Miami, with all their problems in execution, executed the Hail Mary to perfection. Now, you need a little bit of luck there. You do need luck, or it's not going to work. You don't know exactly who's going to be where and how the ball is going to be tipped and who's going to be there for the defense. But basically, that almost looked like a classic and picture perfect, the way it was designed, Hail Mary play. You saw the group of offensive and defensive players. You saw Perry throw it high and deep to the middle of the end zone. He didn't throw it to the back of the end zone where a tip may go out of bounds. He didn't throw it too short like a lot of quarterbacks do. He threw it to the middle of the end zone, right down on that group of players. Will Mallory, to his credit, couldn't catch it, so he got a hand on it. He tipped it, and he tipped it up in the air. And, of course, Mark Pope made the catch for the touchdown, and that proved to be key. 28-7, just to get some points on the board. So luck to a certain extent, but Miami executed the Hail Mary to perfection. They did all the things you need to do. Quarterback rolling out, giving himself time, throws the perfect arc on the ball, perfect depth in the end zone. The Miami receivers were positioned where they need to be, the tip and the catch. So we've got a 28-7 game at that point. Would love to get your feedback, your comments, your analysis on Miami's performance and Virginia Tech. We cover college football here at the Voice of College Football. Of course, Virginia Tech, I'm taking this more from the Miami angle as a 2-touchdown favorite, taking on a team that they should beat, apparently. I'm beginning to wonder, but apparently a team that they should beat, considering Virginia lost to Duke by 35 points, have lost to a ton of marginal teams by as many as 2 and 3 scores over the last year and a half, and have beaten nobody outside of Virginia that's any good since 2017. So your thoughts on the Virginia Tech-Miami first half. Hokies lead 28-7. I'll be back with second half analysis next.